Claudia Penn peered through the cedar-framed office window of the blue wattle Caravan park, watching a conga line of vintage vehicles snake off the Great Southern Highway and jolt across her gravel drive. The annual Retro Road Rally always brought a little chaos. Enough sequined jumpsuits, bakelite radios, and pinstriped Chevy vans to make the past feel more vivid than the present. But this year already felt stranger than the rest. For one thing, the parade was led not by the usual 1969 Tirana pace car, but by an enormous rubber duck strapped to the roof of a corn-silk yellow Mini. It bobbed and wobbled with every pothole, its cartoon beak pointed triumphantly forward, like the figurehead of a very silly ship. The image would have amused Claudia if her phone hadn't been ringing off the hook. "Claudia, it's Tamara in Site 17, the latest caller whispered. "I've looked everywhere. My partner's gone." Tamara Dawson and her boyfriend, Vince, had arrived the previous evening in a battered combi van painted with fading cosmic murals. Claudia had assigned them Site 17, a shady patch overlooking the weeping river Redgums. They were seasoned backpackers, quiet, self-reliant, upbeat. Claudia had liked them immediately. "Gone where?" she asked, switching the phone to her left ear so she could keep taking rally registrations with her right hand. "I don't know. He went to shower at dawn and never came back. His wallet, keys, passport, everything's still here." Claudia exhaled. Missing people were not an accessory she wished to add to a weekend already full of show and shine competitions, Lamington stalls, and spontaneous Elvis impersonations. "I'm coming over," she said, grabbing her khaki jacket with the manager badge. Outside, the gleaming convoy had begun dispersing into their allotted powered sites. The Mini with the duck parked beside a 1977 Land Cruiser sporting rally decals. Music from every era thumped through the air. She heard Chuck Berry, the Bee Gees, even a warbling phonograph. Claudia threaded past fender-gazing tourists and urns of boiling Billy tea until she reached Site 17. Tamara sat on a folding stool, hugging her knees. The combi's sliding door was open, revealing a tidy interior. Macrame plant holders, a tiny guitar, Vince's hiking boots neatly aligned. "He never leaves the boots," Tamara said. "He's a geologist. Rocks and morning hikes. He lives in those things." Claudia crouched. The red gravel around the shower block 20 meters away showed one set of footprints heading toward the tiled cubicles, and none returning. Not helpful. Dozens of guests had trampled over that same path in the last 6 hours. She radioed reception, asked her assistant to phone local police, then walked with Tamara toward the communal amenities. A smell of eucalyptus disinfectant hung inside. 4 curtained stalls, steam swirling. In the corner, Claudia spotted something incongruous. A small plastic duck, bright as a highlighter, perched atop the soap dispenser. Its yellow skin was matte from use, one eye scratched. Claudia picked it up, squinting at a sloppy marker pen scrawl on its belly. 1703 South. Tamara looked baffled. "We don't own a bath toy," she said. Outside, Claudia glanced at the convoy again. The reconnaissance was filling with more ducks. She now noticed a line of smaller rubber ducklings hanging from mirrors, glued to dashboards, even acting as gear shift knobs. Something duck-themed was clearly afoot at this year's rally. But a coordinate on a duck inside the amenities block felt deliberate. As the first police cruiser appeared at the front gate, lights spinning but siren silent, Claudia's stomach tightened with the kind of instinct that comes from managing a place where tranquility can, in a blink, turn complicated. Detective Senior Constable Aaron Kwan exited the cruiser, shook Claudia's hand, and listened as she relayed Vince's disappearance and the odd clue. Quan had the patient expression of someone accustomed to sifting pranks from misfortune. "Rally folks love treasure hunts," he said. "Could be nothing. Still, we treat missing persons seriously. Let's talk to that Mini owner." The Mini belonged to two sisters, Pia and Luce DeAngelis, both wearing pillbox hats and neon headbands, an unintended style mashup that summed up the rally's entire ethos. The giant duck, they explained, was a mascot for a fundraising campaign. Duck Duck Vroom, supporting children's hospitals. Teams hid rubber ducks along the rally route, each marked with cryptic coordinates leading to donation checkpoints. Find a duck, follow its hint, raise money. Fun and philanthropy, all in one rolling carnival. "But we haven't placed any ducks inside private facilities," Pia insisted. "That would break the rules. Each duck must be visible from a public space." She offered them a worn booklet, Rally Manifesto, 25th Anniversary Edition. Claudia flipped through until she found Rule 8, the Duck Directive. No duck may be hidden in bathrooms, bedrooms, or gravesites. Duck digression results in immediate disqualification. "Someone might be freelancing," Quan muttered. "Or plotting something else," Claudia said, then added under her breath, "like kidnapping." The coordinate, 1703 South, still itched at her. While officers canvassed the park, Claudia sat in her office with a laptop and an old topographic map of the wheat belt. 1703 degrees south of the equator felt too distant. They were at 31 degrees south. Maybe the number wasn't latitude, merely part of a code. She typed 17.03 into her rally schedule. At 17:03 hours, 5:03 p.m., the convoy would gather for the twilight time trial, a 30-kilometer dash to an abandoned drive-in cinema outside town. The south gate of the Caravan Park served as the official starting chute. Her pulse quickened. If the duck referred to 1703 South Gate, maybe Vince was being lured or held somewhere along the time trial course. She rang Quan, who dispatched 2 officers to inspect the drive-in immediately. They found nothing suspicious: cracked asphalt, curl-leaf mallee, a projector booth frozen in mid-decay. Still, Claudia couldn't shake the dread. Early afternoon sun hammered the corrugated roofs. Rally participants fussed with spark plugs and polished chrome. Claudia took a detour behind the amenities block, thinking she might find further anomalies. Good intuition rewarded her. Wedged between swaying tufts of spinifex, she saw another rubber duck. This one, lavender-scented and wearing tiny sunglasses, bore the message, "Corner King, Isaiah 40. Someone had inked a square root symbol before the word king, as though mathematics and scripture had collided. Quan examined the new clue. Bible verse says, "Every valley shall be raised up, every mountain and hill made low." You know, roads straightened, rough places smooth. "Roads," Claudia echoed. They were surrounded by roads. She opened a rally brochure. One stage was sponsored by King Corner Auto Wreckers, located on Isaiah Street in the industrial precinct 3 kilometers south. Quan radioed his partner. More officers would check the wrecker's yard. Meanwhile, Tamara wandered like a ghost, eyes red. "He wouldn't play games," she kept repeating. "This isn't Vince." Claudia believed her. Vince had displayed no taste for gimmicks. His Instagram, which Tamara reluctantly opened to investigators, showcased stone formations and silent deserts, not costumed frivolity. By 3:30, clouds stacked over the horizon, deep as bruises. A wind rattled guy ropes. The police search expanded to neighboring paddocks. Yet Claudia sensed the narrative still lay within the rally's universe. An intuition about patterns, ducks, coordinates, scripture, guided her more than procedure. She walked to the event HQ marquee near the playground, where rally director Clive Clutch Brogan presided over a portable PA. A former stunt driver, Brogan wore white coveralls scribbled with sponsor logos and a pompadour lacquered to improbable height. Claudia waited while he entertained a queue of entrants, then described the missing camper and duck codes. Brogan frowned, revealing crow's feet shaped like tire treads. "Our puzzle master is a bloke named Dr. Twombly," he said. "Mathematician turned riddle writer. Designs the charity hunt every year. I'll bring him." Dr. Fiona Twombly turned out to be a woman, silver-haired, wearing roll-top boots and a necklace of typewriter keys that spelled CIPHER. Her eyes lit when Claudia handed over photos of the ducks. "Not mine," she said immediately. "Look at the penmanship. I prefer italic calligraphy. This is rushed, almost nervous." She pulled from her satchel a printed list, registered ducks numbered with letters representing their teams. None corresponded to the messages Claudia had found. "Someone is spoofing the hunt," Twombly concluded, voice trembling with a mixture of offence and intrigue. "Plagiarism most foul, no pun intended." Quan arrived with news. Officers at King Corner Wreckers had found a pair of footprints matching Vince's hiking boots, leading up a pile of crushed sedans to a scaffold platform used for stripping parts. On the platform sat another duck, larger than the rest, its stomach reading, "Screen to sky, seek the star, sample the light where the old frames are." "That's the abandoned drive-in," Claudia said. "Projector beams, starry skies, frames of film. Twilight time trial, 1703, South Gate." Everything pointed there, and yet the police had searched and come up empty, Claudia reminded herself. Unless the spectacle needed to occur at the precise moment the rally arrived, with engines growling and eyes diverted by competition. Whoever planned this might relish an audience. Quan requisitioned drones and thermal cameras to sweep the drive-in once more. Claudia convinced Brogan to delay the time trial by an hour, buying investigators space without spooking participants. He announced a surprise disco interlude, firing up a generator to blast "Stayin' Alive" across the park, while an impromptu mirror ball was hoisted from a gum tree. Guests cheered. Only a few noticed the uniformed activity escalating beyond the bunting fences. At 5:15, Claudia rode with Quan in an unmarked ute through back roads, trying to beat the convoy. They entered the drive-in via a side track screened by saltbush. Dusk bled across the plains. The projector booth stood like a broken lighthouse. Officers combed aisles where once couples necked in bench seats. Inside the booth, Claudia smelled dust and reel oil. A 35mm projector, long defunct, rested under a tarp. On its lens sat, what else? A rubber duck, its beak pointing at the ceiling. She climbed a milk crate, removed ceiling tiles and gasped. Above lay a narrow crawl space, floorboards crusted with mouse droppings, and a man's socked foot. "Vince!" she shouted, heart thumping as officers boosted themselves through the hole. Quan's flashlight cut a swath through the gloom. Vince lay bound but conscious on a yoga mat, gag removed the instant Quan reached him. Pale, dehydrated but alive. "No obvious injuries," he murmured. "I'm okay," and tried to sit. "Who did this?" Claudia asked once he was lowered via ladder. "A guy named Shay," Vince rasped. "Tall, big beard, retro jacket with tour patches. Said I was the right stone man for the fault line." "I thought he'd lost it." Vince explained he had entered the shower block, been confronted by the stranger, possibly drugged, and woke up in the crawl space while the man arranged ducks around him like breadcrumbs. Officers radioed the description. Shay wasn't a registered rally driver, but Vince recalled a grey Falcon panel van with plates 1RCK4201. Twombly's participant list showed that number assigned to Team Faultline, sponsors unknown, registered 2 days earlier by one Shay Ward. The van had not signed in at the Caravan park, but rally permits allowed teams to join at later stages. Why me? Vince wondered aloud. Quan opened a folder of Vince's online geology articles. One piece, viral among niche circles, was about a rare stromatolite outcrop near Lake Wilara, a dry salt pan 60 kilometers east. Vince had speculated the outcrop contained microfossils that could rewrite Precambrian timelines. He grilled me about its location, Vince said, voice shaking. Wanted coordinates, I refused. Claudia's mind clicked. Stromatolite, retro rally, fake charity ducks. Shay Ward was leveraging the rally's treasure hunt facade to construct an alternate map, one that led to ancient rocks, not donation checkpoints. He abducted Vince to extract the secret, using duck clues to send misdirection and delay pursuit. Fortunately, Vince hadn't cracked, and their timely pattern recognition had foiled the scheme. But Shay was still out there, and the rally, even delayed, would soon send hundreds of vintage engines roaring east along the highway, toward Lake Wilara. The perfect camouflage for a panel van seeking a remote fossil bed. Quan alert-paged every roadblock within 100 kilometers. Claudia, adrenaline buzzing, offered her own contribution. Brogan's event radio frequency. They'd broadcast a fake rally update instructing all vehicles to reroute west for a special nightglow parade, hoping to thin traffic on the eastern highway. Brogan eagerly complied, ecstatic at the drama, and within minutes Elvis impersonators and mini-drivers were U-turning like ants following a new pheromone trail. Claudia drove Tamara and Vince back to the park's medical cabin, where paramedics gave him fluids. Dawn threatened the horizon by the time police finally apprehended Shay Ward at a roadhouse, trying to siphon petrol. Officers found maps covered in duck stickers that triangulated Vince's paper's hypothetical stromatolite site, plus chloroform and duct tape. A media frenzy ignited before breakfast. By mid-morning, with helicopters thumping overhead, Claudia walked the rows of awnings and retro jukeboxes, collecting rogue duck props. The rally resumed under police eye, charity donations pouring in at record rates after news networks framed Vince's rescue as the rubber duck riddle. Tamara held his hand beneath a peppermint gum, telling reporters they never gave up hope. Vince, drained but smiling, credited a Caravan park manager with Sherlock instincts. That embarrassed Claudia more than anything. She preferred background roles. Yet she felt fierce pride that her intuition and local knowledge had saved a stranger and outwitted a criminal. She also savoured the knowledge that, for once, a missing camper had returned alive. Too many managers carried darker memories. That evening, Brogan thrust a trophy into her hands. A gold-plated rubber duck atop a gear stick, engraved with "Thank you, Claudia, Quackdown Champion 25th Rally." Cameras flashed. She forced a grin, cheeks aching from fatigue. Later, after the last of the vintage headlights dwindled into dusk, Claudia walked alone to Site 17. The combi lights glowed warm inside, Vince strumming his tiny guitar, while Tamara sketched ducks in her notebook, turning a nightmare into art. Griffon, their rescued border collie, dozed happily by their feet, unconcerned that the world still held menace. "It's funny," Vince called when he saw Claudia. I kept thinking about perspective, trapped up there, how looking at something old in a new way can rescue history. Turns out it rescued me. Claudia lingered, leaning on a fence post. Wind carried the faint scent of dust and diesel, but also the sweet note of freedom. Past the red gums, nighthawks circled the moonlit riverbed. Giant rubber duck or not, the earth kept spinning, mysteries unsolved and waiting. But for tonight the park was safe again, and that was enough.